Welcome, everybody. The name is Vegaani. I'm a VTuber and podcast host, and I'm doing also art. And today I'm interviewing my dear friend Alice Dee. She's the author of many books, and I'm happy that you are joining us today. Today we're going to talk about Alice's book, The Secret of a Long and Healthy Life. Alice, before we draw into the matter, would you please take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Thank you for having me on your podcast, Vegani. My name's Alice Dee, and I'm a nutritional healer, a vegan author, and a longtime advocate for raw plant-based living. My background is in the physical sciences, and after publishing my research in the peer-reviewed scientific literature, I've then spent decades studying nutritional healing, herbology, and the way food and lifestyle shape long-term health. I also founded one of the world's pioneering living food restaurants in Northern California, and I now focus primarily on writing, teaching, and helping people reclaim their vitality through simple science-supported food and lifestyle choices. My work is really about empowering people to understand that longevity is accessible, practical, and rooted in everyday habits like diet and exercise.
Lovely. Um, can you go more into detail in what inspired you to write The Secrets of a Long and Healthy Life?
I wrote this book because I kept seeing people struggling with preventable health issues, often feeling overwhelmed by conflicting information. After decades of studying nutritional healing, herbology, and the science of aging, I realized longevity isn't mysterious. It's a pattern. It's built through daily choices that can nourish the body, calm the mind, and support emotional well-being, or do the opposite if you make mistakes. I wanted to create a guide that makes those choices accessible, practical, and grounded in both science and lived experience.
Um, you talk about fundamentals of longevity. What exactly do you mean by this? Do you want to go in detail about this?
Sure. The foundations of longevity aren't just about adding years. Longevity is about adding vitality to those years. The foundations include things like nutrition, movement, sleep, stress resilience, social connection, and purpose. These are the pillars that consistently show up in scientific research on long lived populations. When we strengthen these foundations, the body naturally shifts toward repair, balance, and long term health. It's a holistic ecosystem, not a single magic bullet.
Uh, why is nutrition such a central theme in your uh, longevity work?
You're starting to sound a little robotic there,
Sorry.
Vigani. But I think what she said was, why is nutrition such a central theme in longevity work?
Mhm.
Nutrition is the one variable we can influence multiple times a day, and it directly shapes our cellular environment in our bodies. A raw plant based diet, which is what I recommend, provides enzymes, antioxidants, fiber, and phytonutrients that support detoxification, reduced inflammation, and hence slow biological aging. When we feed the body foods that are alive, hydrating, and nutrient dense, we give our cells the raw materials they need to thrive. It's one of the most powerful longevity tools we have, and everybody should be using it to its best advantage if they want to live a long and healthy life.
What makes raw plant-based foods unique, supportive for long life?
Um, Raw plant based foods retain their natural enzymes, and this supports digestion and metabolic efficiency. They're also rich in vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants that are often diminished by heat, such as the C vitamin that's responsible for your immune system strength, and also the B vitamins that have a variety of functions in the body, including your neurological system and your energy levels. These nutrients help combat oxidative stress, which is one of the main drivers of aging. Raw foods also tend to be hydrating and fiber rich, which supports detoxification, gut health, and hydration. So when people shift toward raw foods, they often feel lighter, clearer, and more energized, and that certainly has been my experience. And they also age more slowly.
Um, how does balance play a part connected in fit into long life? Okay.
Well, the balanced plate concept is about giving your food a full spectrum of nutrients without overcomplicating things. I encourage people to focus on colorful fruits like berries, for example, leafy greens, sprouts, nuts, seeds, and healthy fats, such as avocados. So we're not talking about oils or saturated fats like palm oil, hydrogenated vegetable oil, coconut oil, and so on. We're talking about raw plant foods, some of which contain fats like nuts and seeds and avocados. These Again, these foods are kind of the top of your food pyramid. The food pyramid would have high fat foods like that right at the very top. So you're eating a small quantity of those, less than 10% generally. And then a more substantial amount of leafy greens, which kind of could be the middle part of your pyramid. And then at the base of your pyramid would be fruits. And that really mirrors what is known as the chimpanzee diet, which is our closest natural living ancestor, or not ancestor, to our cousin, I think is best put. We're not directly descended from chimpanzees. We have a common ancestor. And the idea there is that you are eating about 50% fruits, about 40% greens, and about 10% other stuff, which would include nuts, seeds, and healthy fats. Also, you can include things like sprouts in your diet. So, legume sprouts such as lentil sprouts and mung bean sprouts are quite good protein sources. Also, you have things like alfalfa sprouts, broccoli sprouts, seed sprouts, and sunflower sprouts. So, those are also helpful and can give you a substantially larger amount of nutrition from the base seed that you're presented with. So, sprouting is part of the raw vegan diet, and it's something that you can consider if that would be advantageous for you, especially if you're involved in higher degrees of exercise. Then that might be useful for you. But these foods provide the building blocks for cellular repair, hormone balance, and immune strength. So when your plate is naturally diverse and plant rich, you're supporting longevity at every level, from your microbiome to your mitochondria.
What does oh yeah, I already asking it. What does exercise play a role in longevity and health?
Well, exercise and movement in general is essential for longevity because it keeps the body system circulating, your blood, your lymph, your oxygen, and your energy. So cardiovascular exercise strengthens the heart, while strength training preserves muscle mass, which is a major predictor of longevity. But beyond the science, movement brings joy, confidence, and emotional resilience. It releases endorphins and makes us feel good. So the key is finding activities you generally enjoy, so movement becomes a lifelong companion, not a chore. You want to enjoy your exercise and exercise out of joy. So find something that is helps you move, makes you move, makes you feel motivated to move, and then exercise.
Um, what's but as a essentialist sleep as a long-lively tool. Why is
Oh,
sleep so powerful?
oh, okay. Well, sleep is when the body performs its deepest repair work. During sleep, we regulate hormones, consolidate memory, detoxify the brain, and rebuild tissues. So, chronic sleep deprivation accelerates aging by increasing inflammation and disrupting metabolic balance. When people prioritize sleep, consistent schedules, calming routines, and a sleep friendly environment, they often see improvements in mood, immunity, and overall vitality. So, I do recommend paying attention to your sleep cycle and making sure that you're getting all the sleep you need to repair your tissues.
Um, you're right about the importance of social connection. How does community affect longevity?
Oh, well, social connection and community affect longevity because basically humans are wired for connection. It's an important part of our survival strategy as a species. Strong relationships reduce our stress hormones, improve immune function, and support emotional well being. People who feel supported by their community tend to make healthier choices and recover more quickly from challenges. Whether it's family, friends, or online communities like my vegan and raw food groups, connection creates a sense of belonging that nourishes the heart and extends life.
Um, what are some of the most harmful habits that shortens life, and how can people break them?
Oh, well, I think everybody should know at this point that habits like smoking, tobacco, excessive alcohol use, and recreational drug use of harmful drugs like, say, methamphetamine, cocaine, and perhaps heroin, they accelerate aging by damaging cells and disrupting metabolic balance. Breaking these habits is important for longevity, and it requires compassion, structure, and support. I encourage people to replace harmful patterns with nourishing ones, healthier food, movement, community, a sense of purpose in life. When the body starts feeling better, the desire for destructive habits naturally fades. Another important source of harm is stress. Stress becomes harmful when it's constant and unprocessed. Mindfulness, meditation, breath work, and grounding practices help shift the nervous system out of fight or flight mode. Over time, this reduces inflammation and supports emotional resilience. Longevity isn't just about eliminating stress or about harmful toxins. It's about cultivating the inner tools to meet life with steadiness and clarity, and giving us the right nutrition to support that. When we do that, the body naturally moves toward balance.
Why are regular health checkups important for longevity?
Well, while I personally do not spend a lot of time at the doctor's office, I think my diet kind of insulates me from needing to do that. I do believe that early detection and diagnosis is one of the helpful things that modern medicine can provide. So while I tend to leave as soon as the diagnosis is generated, it does help me know what I have in order to be able to treat it appropriately with natural methods. And many chronic conditions can develop silently for years before symptoms appear. So, getting a regular checkup allows you to catch imbalances early when they're easiest to correct. Partnering with healthcare professionals in this way creates a safety net that supports long-term well-being. This helps empower you and help you make better choices. Again, diagnosis is something modern medicine is actually quite good at. So I think that's how we would want to use the modern medical system. However, the pharmaceutical drugs and um,
Mm-hmm.
surgical procedures may not be
Mm-hmm.
necessary if we know how to use alternative methods intelligently.
Mm-hmm. Um, how does longevity learning contribute to longer life?
Oh, well, lifelong learning contributes to a longer life because the brain thrives on novelty and challenge. When we learn new skills, explore new ideas, or engage in creative thinking, we stimulate neural pathways that keep our minds sharp. Intellectual engagement also supports emotional well being and gives life a sense of momentum. Lifelong learning is a form of nourishment for our brains. It keeps our minds young and our spirit engaged in life.
Hmm. Mm, you're talking about cult- cultivation of positive mindsets. How does um, positive positively influence longevity?
Oh, well, being positive influences longevity because it tends to reduce stress, it supports your immune function, and it encourages healthier food choices and lifestyle choices. Engaging in gratitude, optimism, and self compassion help regulate the nervous system and create a more balanced internal environment, which is conducive to greater longevity. Now, positivity doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means meeting them with resilience and a sense of perspective. Over time, this mindset becomes a powerful longevity asset, so I do recommend it as something you cultivate.
Hmm. How does having a sense of purpose extends life?
Having a sense of purpose gives us direction, motivation, and emotional grounding. People with a strong sense of purpose tend to be more active, more engaged in life, and more resilient health wise. Purpose can be anything: caring for a garden, raising a family, creating art, or helping other people or creatures. When we feel that our life matters, our body responds with vitality and strength to meet that purpose.
Hmm. How does how um your book includes an fascination subject on strategy video games and cognitive simulations. Can you explain how that can support the brain health?
Oh, yes, strategic video games and cognitive stimulation. I thought you might notice that one. Well, absolutely. Strategic video games are a surprisingly powerful tool for cognitive longevity. Researchers like Dr. Daphne Balvalier and Dr. Adam Gezeller have shown that certain games, especially those that require rapid decision making, multitasking, and strategic planning, can strengthen attention, visual processing, and spatial awareness. These games challenge our brains in ways that traditional activities don't, creating new neural pathways and supporting cognitive resilience as we age. Now, I'm not talking about passive entertainment like watching television, but intentional engagement with strategic video games helps stimulate problem solving and adaptability. When used mindfully rather than addictively, they can be a modern and very entertaining complement to lifelong learning and a fun way to keep the brain sharp into old age.
your background in physical science influenced you approach to longevity?
Well, my scientific training taught me to do research and to look for patterns, mechanisms, and evidence to support that research. It also taught me to question assumptions and to explore root causes. So when I combine that discipline with decades of research into nutritional healing, I'm able to bridge the scientific understanding with practical and holistic strategies for well-being. Longevity isn't a mystical thing. It's biological, it's scientific, and it responds beautifully to informed lifestyle choices.
What's the role of herbs in natural healing plays? What role do herbs and natural healing play in supporting long life?
Well, herbs can support detoxification, digestion, immunity, and stress resilience. They're basically nature's pharmacopoeia. So they're not a replacement for healthy lifestyles, but they are powerful allies if things get out of balance. I've used herbs for decades to support my own health and the health of my clients. When combined with a nutrient-rich diet and a balanced lifestyle, herbs help the body maintain harmony and vitality. You also have to consider hydration, fresh fruits, greens, daily movement, and a consistent sleep schedule. I think these are an important part of natural healing. Also, add in a few minutes of mindfulness or deep breathing to help reduce stress. And then spend time outside, connect with someone you care about, and do one thing that brings you joy every day. Longevity is built through small, consistent actions that compound over time and have a long term beneficial effect.
How does your food forest concept concept to your long life philosophy?
Well, as you remember from my book, The Food Forest Guide, food forests are a living example of abundance, resilience, and natural intelligence. Growing food helps teach patience, presence, and respect for the cycle of life. It also provides a sense of purpose and the freshest, most nutrient dense, raw plant based foods possible. So when we reconnect with nature, even through a small garden or a few potted herbs, we start to nourish both body and spirit at the same time. And I think this is a healthy approach to preparing and creating food for ourselves.
Okay. For everybody that wants to learn more about the food forest, I put in a link to the podcast about the food forest. So when we were doing that podcast,
that was an interesting one. Yes.
What misconceptions do people have about longevity?
Well, some of the misconceptions people have with respect to longevity are that many people think longevity requires extreme discipline or expensive interventions. In reality, the longest lived populations rely on simple, consistent habits, plant based diets, regular movement, community connection, a sense of purpose, and stress resilience. Longevity isn't about perfection, it's about alignment with healthy patterns and choices. So when your daily choices support your biology, longevity is a natural outcome. And I think that's what we want to aim for is lifestyles that support our longevity as well as our sense of purpose.
If the listeners have taken anything out, one message away from your book or books, what would you like it to be?
Well, I think it's important to note that longevity is not a quick fix or a distant dream. Instead, it's something you build every day through small, meaningful, proper choices. Your body's designed to heal, regenerate, and thrive when given the right conditions to do so. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. Start with one shift and then another. Over time, those shifts create the foundation for a long, vibrant, deeply fulfilling life.
Do you have any other projects that you are working on currently?
Well, yes, I'm working on music at the moment. So that's been my big passion is creating music. And maybe we can do a podcast on that sometime.
Maybe. I'm also trying to write some songs on the moment.
I'd be interested in hearing those.
First, I'm going writing text, and then I'm going to make also the instrumental things. But first, I'm working on some songs.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, I like to write songs myself. I've helped an artist called Lady Peace create an album called Liberation about the plight of animals in factory farms and how badly they're treated and then killed in slaughterhouses. And it's a very, very moving album. I can't listen to it without crying. So it's one of those very, very emotionally charged albums. Very, very powerful. She has a beautiful voice and she does a lovely job of singing the pieces. I think the one that I liked the most that really sounded interesting, well, Liberation, the song, the title song was powerful, but also there's one called I'm Not Food, and that just really hit home every time I hear that. I am not food. Yes, it's singing it from the perspective of an animal trapped in a factory farm.
Okay.
Because I think one of the things that is beautiful about the raw vegan lifestyle is that we're not harming other creatures, and so not only are we living longer, being healthier, being kinder on the environment, but we're also being kinder on our fellow creatures and not supporting and the horrors of factory farming and slaughter. We're keeping our hands completely clear of that blood and that torture. So I think we do a good thing for ourselves and the planet and our fellow creatures when we consume a raw plant-based diet.
Okay. Thanks for having you today. It seems like we're...
Oh, and thank you for having me.
And then for next week, we will have another topic I think we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about it off stream a little bit, and then everybody will see what it will be next week again.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Vegaani. I hope you have a beautiful week. And so do your listeners.